the different layers to go through for a transformation to happen. So maybe you are in a situation where you feel really stuck. Maybe you're having some issues right now. Physically, you may have pain, you may have a disability, maybe you have gone through a traumatic experience like physical abuse, sexual abuse, or or maybe having a family who is very controlling of you, and you feel you're stuck. And then on the other side, you really want to change, but right now it feels like there is no other way but how it is right now. And it feels very sad and disappointing and depressing. And so there are two things I would like to share with you. One is the idea of whenever you feel an emotion, you have to go through that emotion to have a transformation. So that's concept number one. Why is that? Because when we are having all of these circumstances put on us, there's a feeling that we haven't acknowledged yet, or have processed yet, or have healed yet. When we feel that when we share this with other people, the other people are dismissing it or saying things like, "Oh, you're making it such a big deal. What's wrong with you? And you shouldn't feel this way." Then we're putting all of these pain and emotions off to one side. And what happens is when we put these emotions off to one side, our body is in a way that is like, well, what about me? Look at this pain. Look at this disappointment. Look at this frustration. And when we haven't acknowledged yet and worked through that yet, then we cannot move on, because when we hear about transformation, it's like, oh, we move on. But it's not. The very first step is to acknowledge this feeling, to go through the emotion. Because sometimes, you know what, when you have pain or when you have gone through a traumatic experience, it's painful and it wants to be witnessed and it wants to be acknowledged and it wants to heal, it wants to cry out, it wants to tell you, hey, look at me, look at me. And when we keep looking away to see what we can do to change our circumstance, then this is still going to hold us back. It's still going to keep us stuck. So that's the first thing. So that's why sometimes I will tell you to sit with the feeling. And this is what I do with my clients, is allow them to sit with the feelings, because this feeling is so strong. Sometimes it is so overwhelming. And that's why if you really want to do this, sometimes it's best to find a therapist or a coach to do this with you, because it's very hard to do this on your own. But to be able to allow yourself to go through the disappointment, go through the pain, go through the frustration, literally sitting there to feel it. And that's one of the hardest things to do, because sometimes what happens is when we are in the disappointment, it feels like this is all there is to it. This is the end of the world and I'm stuck right here. And so the other thing that I want to share with you is your circumstance don't define you. Now, this is that other part, right? Because we get mad when we hear people say, well, your circumstance don't define you, so you should change. And this comes back to the very first point, you have to sit with yourself. But now once you've sat with yourself, then it will be like, okay, well, now that I'm here, is there anything that I can do to make changes? And so now then you can say, oh, my circumstance don't define me. And then so we can move on. Now also there's also various layers, because in between here sitting with the emotions and going there, in between there's the fear of I'm gonna try it, but what if it doesn't work and I'm coming back to this stage of hopelessness, helplessness, and despair. then there is a possibility of coming back. And at the same time, once you have gone through this, you are a transformed person already, because you have already changed your mindset after you have gone through this emotion. So by the time you take that next step, you're not the same person going to that step anymore. And so the outcome may be different, but you won't know until you allow yourself to go through the fear, also sit with the fear to take that next step. And so it seems like there are so many steps to go through in order to make that happen. And once you get there, sometimes we're back in the, oh, but I'm still kind of back in the same place. But at the same time, you are not the same person anymore. And then you're going to go kind of like shift, and then you're coming back. Okay, I'm going to sit with all of these again, and then make that step, and then shift, and then go through all these things, and then take that step. And so when looking back, then it's like, oh, things have changed so much for me. And yet if you go back to the beginning, the step is to sit and allow yourself to witness those emotions. Allow yourself to accept you are in pain. Accept that right now I need time to heal, to be heard, to be seen. Allow myself to speak it out, to hold myself, and allow other people to hold me. And so this thing called transformation is that noticing that there is an irritation, that I don't like where I am. And then there is the okay, I need to declare, okay, I'm going to make changes, I'm going to take the step, and then do the action. First thing though is coming back. So that's why I am always asking people, inviting people to come back to this feeling. Come back to this, because you can't make changes until you acknowledge yourself. How you do that is find a therapist, find a coach, where someone who's knowledgeable and able to hold that space for you, to allow you to express all of these feelings. And if you are unable to do that right now, write yourself letters, write it out. Being very intentional is, I'm right here to process out all of these. And it feels sometimes when we are having these emotions, our brain is like, oh, I'm doomed, I'm stuck, I'm always here, nothing's gonna change. But once you allow yourself to sit through it, then things will shift. But you have to be brave enough to sit in this moment first. And I know that I've been sharing a lot, and it is a very tiny step. And if you have watched this video until the end right now, something may be calling out to you, and I'm right here. And you take it at your own pace, knowing that if that's where you want to go, then allow yourself to do this work. Reach out to me if you feel that this is a journey you need to go on. And let's do this together, because I don't want to see you stuck, because I believe that we're all here to do something great with our lives. And don't let all the circumstances define you. But I can't do this work for you. You have to be brave enough to take this first step. Find people, look for resources to help you with this. Then you can go to that. This is just a message I want to share with you. I want to send you a lot of love, send you a lot of strength. And so let's do this together and walk on this journey together.